And you may open.
Thank you, Chairman O'Donnell. Let's see here. Mr. Chair and members, Assembly Bill 787 requires that all public schools, including charter schools, be governed by boards that are either elected by the public or appointed by public officials who are accountable to the public. Most importantly, AB 787 will ensure that California taxpayer dollars are protected by specifying that charter schools cannot be managed by a for-profit corporation. Before I continue, I want to accept all suggested committee amendments as authors' amendments and to thank staff for their hard work in this process. Thank you very much. I believe that teachers, whether working at a traditional school or charter school or an online classroom, must have access to equal employment rights. However, as the presence of online education grows, some are challenging this protection. Just last year, teachers at California Virtual Academies, CAVA, voted to create a union under the Education Employment Relations Act, EERA. However, CAVA's lawyers argued that their teachers are private, not public sector employees, and therefore not subject to the Education Employment Relations Act. This issue is still being litigated and can potentially affect any charter school educators who have formed the unions within the framework of the EERA. This bill ensures that with a publicly accountable board, these protections will stay in place. Assembly Bill 787 creates a framework for board governance of charter schools that safeguards the public. For charter schools operated by a nonprofit or for-profit corporation, the controlling corporation simply places preferred candidates on the school boards of governors. There is currently nothing in California law that prevents corporations from placing board members who are most likely to prioritize the need of charter sponsoring corporations over the needs of students. It is time for meaningful oversight in this public sector. Charter schools serve some of California's most disadvantaged and struggling students, and this bill does not limit the creation of charter schools in California. It simply ensures that charter school governance must be representative and transparent, and thereby allowing the public to hold their leadership accountable as we do for public schools. Public education and unionization efforts are threatened by schools that are managed by private for-profit companies that soak up public funds and often direct them out of state. This bill is sponsored by the California Teachers Association, the California Federation of Teachers, and the California Labor Federation. With me here to speak in support of AB 787 is Daniel Hodge, a special education teacher at CAVA, Ms. Jen Schillen, a history teacher at CAVA's high school, and Mr. Mitch Seaman on behalf of the California Labor Federation. So with that, with your permission, Mr. Chair, I'd like to start with Mr. Daniel Hodge. Ms. Danielle Hodge, I'm so sorry, Danielle. It's been a long day. I have to get my eyes checked.
Hi, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Danielle Hodge. I'm a special education teacher with California Virtual Academies, a large online charter school. In the past, I thought that adding some free market aspects to our public education would improve student services and increase fiscal responsibility. In my 5 years at CAVA, a public charter school operated by a for-profit, publicly held K-12, I found this not to be true. While K-12 top administrator's salary is $3,960,499, the average teacher makes $36,150. K-12 is a for-profit company and does everything they can to maximize profit. Students are pulled in through flashy advertising on Nickelodeon and Pandora. Once enrolled, there are students who are not a good fit for our school who are continued to allow to be enrolled in our school. You have a very self-motivated, and you have to be very self-motivated in our environment to succeed in an online school, and a lot of students don't have this self-motivation. Still, these students, some of whom have stopped taking classes, remain on our rolls, and we continue to claim attendance even if a student has only attended 1 minute of school during a month. The lack of oversight has led to poor practices in our special education department. Resource teachers have had increasing caseloads far beyond the state cap of 28. Actually, 98% of our special education teachers have held caseloads over 35 during the last school year. In addition, K-12 has made cost-saving attempts by neglecting to provide special education students with crucial services such as speech therapy, nursing, school counseling, and Braille transcription. In 1 month, 163 of our 764 high school special education students were not receiving services as assigned by their individualized education plan. It is my opinion that without additional oversight and improved definitions, these for-profit organizations will continue to use public education dollars to line the pockets of their executive officers and create dividends for their stockholders and shareholders at the cost of the school children and their family. Please take this into consideration as you review the amended bill presented by Member Roger Hernandez. I strongly urge you to support AB 787. Thank you for your time.
Committee members, Chairman O'Donnell, thank you for hearing our testimony. My name is Jen Shilen. I'm a history teacher at California Virtual Academies, a large public online charter school with about 700 teachers and over 15,000 students across the state. Our school chooses not to hire clerical staff, as is found at a traditional school, instead saddling credentialed instructors with clerical duties. As CAVA teachers, 80 to 90% of our work week is consumed with paperwork, leaving us with just a few hours per week for instructional time to engage with our students. These clerical duties prevent teachers from teaching and prevent students from learning. Last year, CAVA teachers voted to unionize because we know we can do better to improve educational outcomes for our students. And we believe that as teachers, we have a responsibility to transform CAVA into a place where kids can thrive. Teachers discussed these issues on the phone and in meetings held both in person and online. Our organizing committee collected petition signatures from teaching colleagues through the mail. We encountered pressure from our employer not to unionize. Some of us received written warnings in our personnel files, and some of us were wrongfully terminated. Ultimately, a majority of CAVA teachers voted to join CTA and to create a teachers union at our school. This majority vote was confirmed by the Public Employment Relations Board last summer. It has always been our understanding that as public school teachers, we are protected under the EERA. And so we were shocked that CAVA's for-profit management company, K-12 Incorporated, retained the services of Jackson Lewis, a notorious union-busting law firm, to represent California Virtual Academies in their fight against our democratic vote to unionize. When PERB notified CAVA management that the teachers had voted to create a union under the ERA, CAVA's attorney sent a May 29, 2014 response letter to PERB indicating that PERB should defer to the National Labor Relations Board, the NLRB, citing the 2012 NLRB decision from Chicago. The argument they were trying to make was that CAVA teachers are private employees because we are privately governed and therefore not subject to the EERA as California law provides for all public school teachers. This is why we need the changes in AB 787 now, and time is of the essence. Unless we take action, our employer may go running to the NLRB and claim that we cannot create our union under the EERA, no matter what it says in our law. The NLRB deals with private employees. We should be able to organize under the EERA just like other public school teachers. I have copies of the May 29th letter for your review. Please help us help our kids. Help us transform CAVA from an enrollment factory that piles up the money to a place that supports teachers and children and parents and the community. Help charter school educators who choose to unionize. Everything we do is for our students, and we respectfully ask for your aye vote on 787.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Mitch Seaman with the California Labor Federation, proud co-sponsors of the bill, along with the California Federation of Teachers and the California Teachers Association, for the simple reason that we think the bill offers a real opportunity to help refocus the charter school system back towards the original goals of improving student achievement through innovation and ideally greater parental, teacher, and student involvement in the overall process. Through our years in this experiment and trying different approaches to charter schools, we've seen that in many cases it works out great. There are plenty of charter schools across California that are trying new things and are a part of the community and are responsive to feedback, both positive and negative. But the question is, what do we do when that's not the case? And what do we do if, for example, there's a charter school board with a bad actor that needs to be removed, or if there's a charter school that is engaged in policies regarding attendance or quality of education that the public would like to have a greater say in. Current law doesn't really allow for any kind of public accountability to those charter school boards. The boards are essentially put together by the charter sponsoring corporation with little to no input from those that are directly affected. And all the bill does is require that when the list of candidates is put together, that it be, say, twice as long as the number of people that are actually going to be on the board. So, for example, if a charter school would like a board of 5 people, they submit a list of 10 names, and then the charter authorizing entity, usually a school district, will pick 3 of those names. And so what that does is it both, we think, very clearly preserves the autonomy of a charter school. We've heard a lot of talk about the issue of charter school autonomy during the debate over this bill, and we think it's really important to stress that point, that nothing in this bill requires a charter school to accept a board member that they haven't already vetted and approved themselves. All it does is require that there be a longer list than those that would actually be on the board, and that a majority of those are appointed by a publicly accountable body, so that if, let's say, the founder of a charter school wants to be sure that they're still on the board, the charter school themselves still do have the say, and they can make sure that that person winds up on the board, but that in the case of, say, a charter school with a bad actor on the board, or if there's some activity going on that the public wants to weigh in on and they go to their publicly accountable district board and they really want something done, that someone can be removed from the board and they're not forced to deauthorize the entire charter school and essentially shut the school down, which in some cases is the only option that we see as the absolute worst possible outcome for everyone involved, especially the students. So in addition to the reasons previously stated, we think this really does take a major step towards preserving those original goals of the charter school system, and we urge your support.
Thank you. With that, members of the public in support, if you could state your name, your affiliation, and your position on the bill.
Good evening. Ron Rapp, California Federation of Teachers. We are proud to be a sponsor of this bill. I started digging in some research around K-12 Inc. and found that they are a publicly traded company on Wall Street. They reported profits of estimated revenue of $708 million in 2012. They estimated an $87 million profit in 2012, and they gave their CEO a $5 million paycheck in 2011. We strongly urge your aye vote on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. If the others could just come forward, state their name, affiliation, and position on the bill.
Mr. Chair and members, Seth Bramble here on behalf of the California Teachers Association, proud to co-sponsor this important legislation. Urge your aye vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and members. My name is Tristan Brown with the California School Employees Association. In very strong support of this bill, we urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. Ellen Welt. I am a teacher at California Virtual Academies. I teach 3 different subjects for the high school, and I hope that you are willing to help us. We really need your help because we need to be able to advocate for our students. We cannot advocate for our students currently because we are concerned that we will be terminated, and that should not be a problem for teachers. We are their advocates.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Renee Bayardo, SEIU, California, in strong support.
Any others in support? Seeing none, those in opposition.